thanks for joining us today. Today's episode is literally, we're going to talk about steroids, the misconceptions around steroids, how they're misused today by the youths, or people are just so quick to jump on them. So anyway, I've got my good friend here, Greg Scott. Greg's had a lot of experience in the field, if you will. He's a good mate of mine, and I thought he'd be a perfect person to ask about, really. Who is Greg Scott? I would like you to just introduce yourself so people can get to know who you are.
Yeah, so I own a gym, and I've kind of been around the training scene all my life. Started from the old school bodybuilding gym, started to compete, went through that for 4 years. It is very much my life. Training is my life. I'm not a pro bodybuilder, don't aspire to be. I'm not interested in that, but like I say, training is my life. I live to train. It helps me out both mentally and physically. And then, yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really.
Sweet. And you own a gym. What's your gym called?
Transform
Gym, and where's that?
Wigan.
Transform Gym, Wigan. So you've obviously you got involved in all of the use of steroids and stuff. Yeah. That was purely because of competing.
No, it was a little while before that. I've always been around that kind of environment, really. So I've always known people, and a lot of my mates quite a bit older than me. So obviously, when I was quite a lot younger, they were taking when I wasn't, and it was never.
Right, yeah.
So kind of I kind of got introduced at a young age without taking it until the kind of the desire kicked in, and kind of the temptation kicked in, if you like.
You used to around those sort of guys who were taking it, and big lads,
bigger, stronger, older, but it's obviously someone's got what you want. So
so you're sort of like aspiring to be like these sort of guys, if you will. And they've set the sort of standards, I guess, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So how old was you when this sort of like was going on, sort of thing?
I was probably about 18 when I was training. When I was around people on gear, I didn't start until a couple of years later, really.
Yeah.
I was about 2021 when I started even thinking about it. From there, got a coach, what I thought was a professional. Obviously, Instagram does a lot, so obviously he had massive following, all the rest of it. I thought he must know what he's doing, must be trustworthy. I'm paying him. I can confide in him and all the rest of it. Thinking I was doing the right thing, and that's where my journey started, really.
So, and how old was you when you first started competing?
I think I was 21. I was in juniors, so I think I must have been 21 because I was a year below the cap for the age. I think it was 22. He was up to juniors. I might be wrong.
Yeah. So did you say you started taking gear before you even started competing?
No, so
or was that?
It was kind of around the same time. So when I took on the coach, we started kind of on a little bit of an off season. Started dabbling it, and then it went from there, really.
Right. And how did that look anyway? So, like, what was your mindset going into taking gear? And what were your thoughts around it prior to it? Because obviously, I imagine you would have sort of had some sort of ideas about it, or you may have been thinking about it prior to it.
Yeah, let's say I was young and naive in terms of like I was open to it, never had an issue with it because I always had mates on it and all the rest of it. And once I understood that other people were taking it, I thought, oh, it's acceptable. It's okay to do.
Yeah, of course.
So it never really bothered me in that sense. And like, obviously, it fit in with the competing and all that stuff. I was like, I'm now doing it for a reason, so it's not that big of an issue. Just a little did I know is how much I didn't know, and I was trusting the wrong people around what I was doing, really.
Yeah. So what does it look like when you first started taking it? Like, what was your thoughts going into it? And like, what was the whole process of it like for you?
It was quite easy, to be honest, because obviously there were so many people around that did it anyway.
Yeah.
It was second nature to them. So it's just like, oh, right, you start on this, and I just took it. It was easy as that, really. There weren't any thought process. I was young at the time. It weren't something I thought too much into. I never thought of the consequences or anything that could happen. It was kind of like, fuck it kind of thing.
Just outcome sort of orientated,
Exactly,
so you're thinking about, I want to be here, or I want to get this jacked, or whatever, and then fuck it, just have it because everybody else is sort of doing
That's
it. Kind
it,
of thing. That's easy road to go down. Isn't it? It's very easy to get sucked into.
Just following the crowd in it, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny because I've sort of come from like a sporting background. That's where my sort of my transition into sort of strength training, bodybuilding came into it. And coming from that sport background, I was always around like natural lads that are competing, athletic sort of kind of guys who, at lower levels, you don't think like steroids is even in it, and you're sort of like got that warrior mentality of, I don't need to take any enhancers, I'm not a cheater sort of thing. It's very much sort of like I'll do this naturally and do it, through the grind and the hard way. But as you go into bodybuilding, then the more
I think also it's in terms of where your environment is as well. You come from a
Yeah,
very
definitely.
different place in terms of like me being from a rugby town.
Yeah, Wigan.
It's kind of every lad, whether they look like they're on it or not, are on it. It's kind of,
it's true.
it is surreal to see, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of who can fill a t-shirt. It doesn't matter what you look like. You kind of want to be big and strong, and that's it. And that was the problem, and that is the problem now. Is that everyone wants that quick fix or that easy fix to pass a few years in terms of progression.
Definitely. I've noticed that just coming to Wigan myself is like, it is rife here for people taking steroids. I mean, like, everybody's on it, like you're saying, innit? And I imagine, so like you're saying, with being in rugby town, it's a big one. It's crazy. So I guess, like you're saying, your environment dictates that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So how many years did you compete?
4 years.
Right, sweet. So it was like 4 years consecutively?
Yeah, every year.
And tell me a bit about that then. Like, how was that for you? What did you do? What was your sort of thoughts going into competing? Like?
At the time, I enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. You ask me now, and I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
At the time, for me, it was all I knew. I am all or nothing, and I kind of got into it. And every year, I wanted to progress. I wanted to get better.
Right.
And I was never good enough. But when I first started, I was very naive as to where my starting point was. Lost a lot of weight. Was with an awful coach, and I dieted down to nothing because I had nothing.
Yeah, I remember seeing.
It's kind of, I progressed from there in terms of wanted, and the natural progression you're going to see, especially being enhanced, is the fact that you are going to progress.
Yeah.
So you go through your rebound, you put a bit of size on, you go into a bit of an off season, you're stronger, you're bigger, you're gonna look better the next year.
Of course, yeah.
And I did get the bug for it, definitely. I always knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, but that was I'd been a bit of a dickhead when I was younger, or whatever. It weren't the kind of thing of going out, getting pissed or whatever. That was the thing to stop me from being that person in terms of going out, just keeping my head straight and have a purpose. Get up in the morning, get my cardio done, day starts. And that was 7 days a week for me. And that was kind of just where I was at. It was just a lifestyle that I chose to live. Enjoyed the lifestyle at the time, but then I look back now and I think, well, how many social events did I miss out on? How many things did I miss through choosing that path? I don't regret it, but at the same point, I wouldn't do it now because I have much bigger priorities than getting ready for one show or anything like that.
I mean, you're later in life now, that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've sort of gone past that boisterous, competitive sort of age. I mean, well maybe not, but I mean, the desire to sort of compete as much.
Yeah.
In general, is sort of like not a main focus. I imagine your competitive sort of edges, or maybe towards business or trying to build a family.
I've got much bigger goals now than against a trophy on the stage.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you sort of like align yourself with, innit, I guess.
That's it, definitely.
And your environment sort of thing, like you said there. So again, a big thing for me on this is like, I've had a few questions in from a few young lads, and I get asked quite a lot as well about am I on steroids and stuff like that myself. Whenever I competed or like whenever I start focusing on dieting and that, and a lot of young lads like there's a lot of this desire to sort of to take it, but I feel even in myself at the minute there's not a lot of information around about it sort of thing. So like, what are some of the sort of things would you say to like your younger self? If you was to meet your younger self today, and he was keen to do the same thing, what would you say to him?
Use your brain.
Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's obviously in terms of training and everything like that. It's anything else. You need to build a foundation, and you need to progress from there. It's a work in progress all the time. Now, everyone wants that quick fix. Everyone wants to skip a few steps, but at the end of the day, in terms of your physique in general, it's built off a solid foundation. If you can't get that foundation wrong, which comes from training hard, eating properly, and having a good routine in place, if you've not got that in place and you're starting with this, and I don't regret, I started what I class as very young, but I don't regret it because luckily I've educated myself and I've got the right people around me and all that stuff. But I look at so many, what I class as kids these days, which are old teenagers, so to speak, who are taking it, abusing the bodies on a weekend, doing recreational things and whatever else. And where are they going with it at all? They're not even in good shape with it, but there's this mindset now that I'm weight training, I've got to jump on gear. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
I remember doing the same thing when I was competing, a few lads were saying to me, "Oh, are you taking gear now?" Or "I've heard you've got to take gear to start competing." And I was like, "No, you fucking don't." Like, I remember actually when I competed, I made it a point that I was going to get on stage with lads that are taking gear, and I was going to fucking shine.
Yeah.
And my intention was to win. Do you know what I mean? And luckily, I fucking did. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of graft went into that. But that's the thing, though. Like you're saying, that's the mindset that people link. You have to take gear to sort of get to a certain size, shape, or whatnot, because that's the only sort of way kind of thing.
This is social media all over.
Yeah,
for
it
me,
is definitely.
social media. Anyone can make themselves look good from an angle or whatever else. And the problem you've got now is you've got these fitness influencers, or even you everyday gym goers are putting these pictures online. They look 10 times bigger. They look shredded. They look.
You can tell it's on gear.
Yeah, but the problem is these kids now are thinking, well, I'm never going to get like that unless I do X, Y, and Z. But why don't you try the hard way first? Why don't you do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Look after yourself, educate yourself, and if you want to do it later on, absolutely fine. But everyone has a natural potential. Why don't you just push that natural potential first? Try and get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Naturally and healthily. And then if it's something you want to consider, but you've got to understand that it's not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
It's something that it is a drug at the end of the day. It's still something you're going to go back for. And this is the misconception with gear, is the fact that people think they take it once and that's it. You get hooked like you take any drug.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, what would you say to that younger self then now? Because it sounds to me, obviously, like you probably regretted taking it, or you regretted taking it as soon as you did.
Yeah, I regret taking it as soon as I did. I have got no issue with gear at all.
Same here. I've got no bias towards
it. I think if
or
you
against it.
Educate yourself properly, have the right people around you, absolutely fine. And I do believe, especially later in life, men should be on a TRT dosage of test. 100%. Because as your body declines, you want to be that younger self, and why not? So my view on gear is quite positive. But in terms of your starting point, you need to be well educated and make sure you're doing all the fundamentals properly first, ticking every box before you even consider it. And then when you are considering it, talk to professionals, talk to people who actually have the knowledge that you need, and learn off them. So it is hiring a coach, first and foremost, but do your research. Don't do what I did and look at how many followers someone had and how many transformations they can put online and think, oh, that's the one I'm going with, because they must be good. Talk to them, see how interested they are about you. Do they consider your health? My first coach didn't even ask how I did it on my first competition. I dieted with him for 22 weeks, and after my comp, he never even messaged me to ask me how I got on. That's how much he didn't care.
And he'd done your cycle for you as well?
Yeah, everything. And then tried not to speak to me after that. There was a bit of an uproar over that. I obviously kicked off over it, and then and this coach is now one of the biggest. Well, he's a massive coach online, talking about blood work and all the rest of it. Didn't do anything at the time, and we all grow, obviously.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We get better and we learn and stuff.
Online now, especially this whole online coach thing, anyone could walk off the street and say they're an online coach.
Yeah, it's scary. Isn't it?
There's no qualifications to be had. They could buy a few thousand followers, put a few transformations up, edit the fuck out the pictures, and there you go.
They look like
exactly. Talk the talk, and then straight away they're there.
Yeah, I mean, even the the level of entry for personal training is exactly the same.
Absolutely.
Every dog in the cat's got a personal training qualification these days, and claims you're a trainer, and like you're saying, people paying money for this, and they're trusting these people with this information or so-called information that they've got and experience. And then
that's it with me. I just think you need to talk to the right people. Talk to people who's been on gear, their experience. Talk to coaches that they've dealt with. And you'll know straight away after the conversation you're having with people. If they're talking about blood work, they're talking about like your lifestyle. Are you ticking all the boxes? The simple things mean a lot. And that's where you know there's some sort of trust in the coach, and trust is built over time.
Definitely is,
Again, it's a work in progress all the time, isn't it? So with anything like that, you need to have someone who you can trust that's educated on the subject if you're not. And you need to do your due diligence. You need to educate yourself. And if you're not bothering, then why are you doing it?
Just to go back off what you said before then about sort of like if you was speaking to a younger self or speaking to a young lad who was asking about gear and was like dead keen on taking it, you would say, listen, just hold the brakes first, get into training and learn how to train properly. Start establishing some good nutritional habits and start eating properly first in accordance to building muscle.
Exactly.
and eat in accordance to building muscle. And then, try to reach your full potential naturally first, or at least give yourself a few years
Be on the track,
building a solid foundation. And then once you sort of feel like you're maxing out or plateauing, then sort of maybe look at other avenues if that is something you're still interested in doing, or if you want to take it a bit more seriously and compete and stuff like that.
That's exactly that. I think there's no cap on your natural potential. Some people might. I've talked to lads that are now pro bodybuilders, and they wish they were started sooner because they were a few years off the natural potential. But in terms of obviously that career as a pro bodybuilder, it's quite limited. It's quite short anyway. So if you're going down that route, absolutely. If you've got them genetics, if you want to treat that as a career, absolutely go for it. But it's still the same rule applies. Make sure you're ticking all the boxes of the basics right first. If you've not got a good training history behind you, you don't know how to train hard, and you don't know how to eat properly, then why are you trying to skip a few steps? It's like all these people who are taking fat burners and whatever in the 20 stone.
Exactly.
You can go and eat your Mackies all you want, but then fat burner's not going to do nothing. And it's exactly the same. And I know we're talking the other day. It's all these people who see someone driving a Lambo and wants a fast car and they've not even passed the test. They're trying to skip these steps all the time. When do the basics first. Get your provisional, learn to drive, get your driving license, get on the road, get your little shitty car that you crash everywhere, and then build up to something like that.
Exactly.
It's the same with anything in life. You have to start somewhere, but you've got to build up. If you try and skip the steps, normally there is consequences to that. Some people get lucky, some people don't. I don't know what health implications have occurred with me yet. I'm absolutely fine, and now everything is way under control with me. But still, I suppose you won't find out later on in life if there's any implications there. It's something you've just got to live with, really, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, I imagine from what you said, though, you've learned that some of the stuff you did earlier was mistakes and that, and you've looked for help to sort of correct how to do things and where to get the right information and stuff. And right now, your health's in a good place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I mean, I hear, especially from my cousin. I've got a cousin who's very much he's like my age. He's very much looking at potentially starting to take some TRT doses of steroids or whatnot. He's looking at potentials, if you will. But again, he's not looking at taking. He's not looked at taking anabolics just to get absolutely jacked. He's been thinking about for more health, like you're saying, long term. But in that, like, something that's always been around my mind with regards to it is seeing big guys that then have like a lot of mental health issues or have this sort of exaggerated body dysmorphia and exacerbated sort of like mindset and feelings towards coming off it and being on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know like some big lads.
It's real. It's absolutely real. There's many mental implications to taking gear. It's a drug at the end of the day. It becomes addictive, and it's all right. Your cousin saying he's going to start on a TRT dose or whatever, but it's like you start to gain that a little bit more weight. You start to get stronger. You start to look better. It's like, oh well, what if I just chuck this in or whatever? It does. You always just creep up at that notch or two. And the health implications are obviously you get used to looking a certain way, feeling a certain way. And then obviously you're going to come off, and it's going to be your body's fighting to get its natural testosterone again, and that takes time. So you go through that stage of feeling tired all the time, can't be bothered with training, your strength goes down. Now, again, that can all be controlled, depending on the individual and depending on the education they've had around that. But this is the problem. The general population who are taking gear now, they'll take a gear off a mate of theirs who's told them in the gym, who's probably twice the size of them, so they're taking double the doses of what they should do. They've got ready for Ibiza, they've upgraded in Ibiza, come back, they've been off their head for 4 days, come back, they're in a massive black hole because of that. They've stopped taking all the gear they have and they don't train for the next 6 weeks. And then before you know it, you're talking about mental health issues, you're talking about suicide. It seems extreme, but it's how it starts.
Definitely. And it can easily happen as well, People just throw everything into the body these days.
Of course, yeah.
Taking drugs is, for a lot of people, is just it's like every weekend thing.
It's so common now, it's seen as acceptable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And my view on steroids is very similar to any other drug. It's like, it's a drug. So you need to understand that it's not something you're just going to take and be okay with and, I'll never try that again. It's going to be something that I quite like. how that made me feel.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the temptation is still there. So then coming off and feeling a certain way, it does affect you mentally.
Of course. Have you tried to sort of
Yeah, I did.
battle with that?
A few years ago, came off, and yeah, it was during lockdown, so it's probably the worst possible time to ever consider.
Yeah,
Went into a massive black hole with it, but
most people go into a hole anyway.
yeah, so it was the worst time to. But obviously, for me, that was to prove that fertility-wise and everything, if and when I choose to, I can do.
You can.
So he was coming off 6 months doing sperm count and all the rest of it, and anyway, come back and it was fine. So that was me doing what I wanted to do, and I believe up until a late age I'll be on a TRT dosage because I do think there's many positive health benefits from it.
Of course.
So I think obviously I had quite a bad experience with it. I went into it quite a bad way, but again, there was many factors in that, in the sense of it was during lockdown. My mood changed, everything changed because I was tired all the time, didn't want to train. It was hard enough picking myself up to train during lockdown anyway.
Yeah. I felt the same thing, and I wasn't even I'm not taking anything at all.
Yeah, and I got to a point when I couldn't be bothered. Lost a lot of weight. I thought, well, I'm not training properly, so I'm not eating properly.
Yeah, of course, that goes that way.
I lost a serious amount of weight, and now it's something that I've been in that place, and I know I'm a stronger person for it.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, there better not be another lockdown.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree. You know, like the TRT doses. I think you know, is it Andrew Huberman? He talks about when you reach your peak of your natural testosterone production. I think it's like from around 21 or something. From every year from then onwards, you slowly decline. I think it's like 1% a year roughly. But I mean, in that same sense, there's also men in the 90s still with high testosterone naturally, as someone like reaching puberty. You know,
I think this is the problem as well. Is everyone is different.
So 100%.
You get your people who are naturally high in testosterone anyway.
Yeah.
Now they're seriously jeopardising themselves by touching that because it'll never return the same. I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but I believe it never be the same because no matter how high your natural test is, you're used to higher. So it's still going to change you and your body to some extent. And I think
your mindset.
People need to see that progression and see that natural progression to know, like, genetically, I'm not gifted at all. Like, I'm really not. Whereas there's some people naturally who are.
Yeah.
So it's kind of try and reach that potential, see how far you can take it.
See what you're made of first. Yeah, of course. I agree. I think that's a good way of going about it. And I think like there's a few big guys in the industry or big names in the fitness industry who advocate taking steroids or take steroids, train top athletes. I remember even from JB. JP.
Yeah.
Jordan Peters. Yeah, he was saying exactly the same thing. Like, you know, he wishes he would have took it a little bit later and tried to explore his natural potential first. You know, and give himself a few more years to do that before starting taking it. And he's a heavy dose taker. And he's a big lad. Do you know what I mean? He's only short, but he's like a wall, and he's probably as wide as he is tall. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's faced quite a lot of health implications, and I think a lot of people misguide that or misjudge the health implications that could come from it, alongside the benefits as well. Do you know what I mean?
I think the beauty of obviously the industry now, the one thing, the good online coaches are really investing a lot of time into that side now.
Yeah.
So they're educating them properly. Yeah. They're bringing in blood work, and they're really assessing the client's health more than anything. Now, I've seen many online coaches, whether the bodybuilding coaches or not, and you can see the current attention's there now.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from the likes of JP. He was the OG of like, he was the go-to. I remember I signed up to his website, and he was kind of the one that everybody trusted because he was so knowledgeable. Well, still is, obviously.
Of course,
he invested a lot of time and energy into obviously educating himself to a certain way, where he was almost a guru, wasn't he?
Yeah.
From what I see. And a lot of people aspire to be like him, and they've changed their Instagram names to something similar to him, but everyone wanted to be like him. I think that's the one positive that's come from the industry of late, is the fact that more people are trying to follow in his footsteps and not just kind of recommending a course of gear. They're actually thinking, right, what's going to affect them in this way, and what do I need to assess as a coach to make sure they stay healthy?
I wanted to touch on some of the sort of the benefits of it to make, like, people who might be listening and watching the benefits of taking steroids and obviously the negatives of taking steroids, and what your thoughts are on what the benefits or the negatives might be going forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, what your thoughts are?
Listen, it's no secret to what the benefits are of taking gear.
Please enlighten me, because I have no idea.
The problem is this is what everyone speaks about on how they big gear up to be this be all and end all. That if you take it, you're going to be bigger, you're going to be stronger, you're going to be leaner, which is all fantastic. But whether you take gear or not, if you're not doing the basics properly, then it's still not some miracle cure that you're just going to turn into Arnie overnight.
Yeah, of course.
And this is what frustrates me more than anything is it's picked up so much online that the younger generation are looking at it and thinking, fucking hell, I need some of that.
It's a wonder drug.
Yeah, it is a wonder drug. Now, like I say, most people know the benefits of gear. You're obviously, it's going to enhance you. It's going to enhance your training. It's going to enhance your body. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. Mentally, you feel on top of the world. Or especially when you start off, should I say, because you do feel like you're on speed 24/7.
Yeah.
But it's one of them. It goes hand in hand with what you're doing in your lifestyle.
Yes.
Now,
I was going to touch on that as well. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me is the fact that your life, it's just going to, if your lifestyle's not complementing what you're doing, then the benefits are not going to be as great.
Such as?
Well, if I was eating shit all the time and I was going out every weekend and I was taking gear, I'd get big, but I'd look like a bag of shit. I'd still be a big water balloon. People might say, oh, you're a big lad with a top off. I'd take my top off and I'd look like shit.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that you see the majority of lads now. They can fill a t-shirt, but they're not in shape.
Yeah,
and I
see that a lot.
When I started training, whatever, this was what it was all about. These lads who look massive, they're strong, whatever, but you take the top off and you think, fucking hell, did you train?
Yeah,
and this is the problem. Yeah,
dad
exactly.
bod sort of thing.
Exactly.
Just a big version of a dad bod sort of thing.
But they still get the benefits of feeling better. They feel strong. They feel invincible. And then the whole thing with like, they talk about roid rage or whatever else, bollocks. It's utterly bollocks.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking a ridiculous dose, then you're not losing your temper all the time. There is certain drugs like Tren and stuff like that that are going to obviously heighten your temper at times and whatever else.
Okay.
But as a general consensus, it's nothing to do with that. It's because of the fact that, especially as a bodybuilder, you're highly dieted, you've got no patience for nothing, but then everyone will associate to that. It's because you take gear, you've got no patience for anyone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, you're dieting anyway, you feel like absolute dog shit. I've heard steroids typically just enhance your personality.
Exactly.
So it's a bit like
Ego.
money. Yeah. Money does the exact same thing. So if you're a naturally quite an aggressive person and confrontational, you will be more prone to doing that if
you're prone to
emotion
because of your ego.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Look at,
ego
like,
driven. That's a good way of putting it.
You look at all lads who are on the doors, for example, security or whatever else.
Don't know any of them.
Me either. But at a young age, they throw all the body, they chuck everything in the body.
Yeah.
Big lad, throwing a t-shirt, probably one of the bigger than every lad that walks past them on the doors or whatever, and they feel on top of the world. So something kicks off and they're like, well, I'll show you fucking alpha male.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, is the fact that they play on that, and lads play on that a lot when they're filling the body full of shit.
Yeah.
And then because they feel a certain way, they know they can go and press the 50s in the gym, the 60s or whatever, one of the strongest in the gym. Then it's that ego, it's that mindset they're in more than it's actually causing an issue with their anger or whatever.
Yeah.
It's because they feel invincible.
Yeah. Well, that's testosterone in itself, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
Yeah.
When you've got high testosterone naturally, you feel great.
Yeah.
Like you feel like, if you will, like boisterous, like, you've got that sort of warrior mentality where, you're very competitive. You feel great because testosterone makes you feel great in itself anyway. It makes you stronger. You are able to keep leaner and grow muscle a lot more, more efficiently. You're more competitive naturally anyway.
Of course, yeah.
I think science has shown through through experiments that it actually reduces anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
So that's when you're talking about, feeling on top of the world. Well, if you've got high testosterone, you're not going to be feeling shit about yourself, are you? Do you know what I mean? Obviously increases sex drive and, makes you more competitive to looking for a partner, or even, you're more You're more seeking more opportunities for
Yeah.
partners, if you will.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So I mean, this is natural. This is a natural. This is what testosterone does anyway. So I think, like you've said, then if you're eating really well, if you're looking after your diet, you're not over abusing it with like drugs and stuff like that or drinking. If you're training regular and you're doing the right things that promote testosterone anyway, like lifting weights, like doing explosive and powerful things like sprinting or whatnot. Even cold showers and stuff, you're gonna increase your testosterone naturally. And I mean, if you feel like your testosterone's lacking, there are a lot of natural herbs and substances out there that I endeavour in that also build your testosterone really high. I mean, I've recently done a blood test to see what my my testosterone levels were. Because I've been thinking about taking some of these more natural sort of testosterone promoting herbs and stuff. But before I did it, I wanted to see where's my blood at like. Where am I at like roughly at the minute? Like I'm getting towards like past mid-30s now, and I'm like, well, usually there's people talk about there's a big decline, but I feel fucking great in myself. Do you know what I mean? My results come back, I'm above normal ranges, and we talked about this the other day. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, like it just shows, depending on where you want to be, regardless of like your goals, if it's bodybuilding or whatnot, is there a need to earlier on take steroids?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Not at all.
Especially when you can do it quite naturally or do the right things that you're saying just by focusing on the foundational stuff. And then maybe with your diet can sort of really enhance that. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. But
I think it's one of them we gear. Like I say, I'm very much for it, but under the right control. It's like anything else. Training is a hobby. It's a life to me. It's part of my life. One thing I own a gym. It's what I do every day. You're never going to take that away from
100%.
me. So training is a massive part of my life and always will be. So I don't mind enhancing that or doing something to supplement my lifestyle, which is absolutely fine. I'm not going out every weekend. I hardly ever drink. Don't do anything I shouldn't be doing because I don't go out really. So if that's what I choose to do in my life, absolutely fine. And I advocate that to anyone. If that's how they choose to live life, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But again, just educate yourself properly.
What would you say to somebody then that is wants to take gear or takes gear but does do all those things like at weekend drinking and taking drugs or whatnot, like
it's
because you don't do that, do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's one of them. Like your body can only take so much, and then they've always got an excuse for why they're feeling a certain way, or there is always issues with people who are taking many things, whether it's drinking, drugs, gear. When they combine the three, you make a wicked cocktail there. And then they'll turn around and say like, "Oh, my life's shit. I feel like shit. Why do I feel like shit all the time? Why am I always tired all the time?" It's like, fucking hell, open your eyes. And this is my biggest issue: is the fact that mental health is massive now. It's always been around, but it's massive now. But it's because of people, the lifestyles people are living. Like if I choose the gear side of things for training or whatever, and that's my hobby, that's what I do, that's my life. I can control that. But then if I'm going out on the weekend, I'm taking this, I'm doing that, I'm drinking that, I'm abusing my body beyond control. I can't control that.
Of
so
course.
then 7 days a week, my body's been absolutely hammered by everything under the sun. Now, your body can only take so much. I'm lucky I'm fit and healthy. What about someone who has got a history of health problems within the family? Or people don't look that far ahead and think, oh, well, I'm young, I can get away with it. I only do it this once. Then it turns into twice a month. Then it's 3 times a month. This is the problem we've got, is the fact that everything they're taking is some sort of drug. They get some kind of kick out of it and they want it again and again and again. And like I say, you can't live your life doing that every weekend and not expecting any health implications.
It's come from it, yeah, definitely. Well, what are some of the implications that you know, the health implications from taking steroids? Just while we're on that sort of topic.
To be honest, I don't know many.
Okay.
I obviously you look at the severity of the bodybuilders and people passing away and all the rest of it.
The hot sort of issues that come from abusing. Lifestyles.
I don't really associate myself with that lifestyle anymore of going out on weekends and people doing recreational things and all the rest of it. So I don't really see the side of blending all three. Of seeing the implications that has on them. I know about the depression side of seeing people with suicide and all the rest of it. I've only seen the minor kind of health implications like the acne and I've seen a few people with fertility issues, but then I know plenty that have had
been able to
kids
recover it.
when they've been on it. So it's like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I didn't know of until late, that actually you're still fertile when you're on gear. I thought it naturally shut that off until your natural testosterone came back,
Right.
which is not the case, which I found out very recently.
Right. That's new information to me. That I never knew that either. I didn't know
that. He was actually a mate of mine. There's a couple of mates of mine who have all done it. Why? I'm like, fuck. I thought it was like the best conception drug going, but obviously not. But yeah, so I'll be honest, I've not really seen the severity of the side effects of gear. I'll be honest. I just see what it's doing in terms of people mentally, and the people nowhere near ready, and they're doing it to skip a few jumps. I'm still relatively young, so I've not seen, or my kind of generation hasn't seen the side effects of later life. And I'm sure there's many to come.
But how old are you at the minute?
Just turned 30.
Just turned 30, so yeah.
So I'm still relatively young. So, like I say, I don't think in a controlled environment there's many health conditions to gear. But the people are abusing it. Of course, there's going to be some.
Of course there is,
blood pressure, everything associated to your blood work, really.
Yeah.
There is obviously going to be health issues. It's just I've not really experienced that firsthand to know anyone who's had that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing everything yourself in a good manner, if you will, anyway, to make sure you're keeping your health in check. And that's a big thing. Like, what would you say to somebody, especially like these young lads out there, that are maybe looking to do it, but they don't really take the training or the nutrition as serious as you? Like, they just want to get bigger, they want to look better in a t-shirt, like, especially at weekends or going on holiday and stuff like that. But they probably don't really commit to having a good diet anyway, and they don't really commit to training that much, or even like lads that just do a bit of training, but they're not really serious all in all. Do you know what I mean? What would you say to those sort of people?
Stay away.
Yeah.
Stay away. If you can't bother doing the basics right, why would you abuse your body? At the end of the day, you're not that serious about your goals. So if you're not that serious, why would you take it to the next level on potential health issues? When none of us, well, there's plenty of people who do, but we don't really see or know of the serious health implications, but there is many. Because
definitely.
You're abusing a drug, and then you're still putting a drug into your system that is not meant to be there.
Yeah.
So by you doing that, of course, there is going to be, you are leaving yourself open. So if you're not willing to do the fundamentals properly and you're not that bothered, then why would you do something that could really affect you? Why affect your health more than anything?
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. Scary, isn't it, man? There's a lot of people out there making just big jumps without even doing any sort of research or
it's
looking.
Because it's the norm now. It's because it's seen as acceptable. The difference is us going back to when we were younger. It was very much frowned upon. It's like it was something that you either did in secrecy, or you had to told anyone about because you're almost ashamed of it. Because you're seen as a bit of a cheat or whatever else. Unless you're a bodybuilder, it was kind of like you don't touch steroids. Whereas these days, it's like, the first question anyone asks is what you want,
how much you're taking.
What about the years of dieting? What about the years of training? What about the years of educating myself on how to do the basics properly? None of that anymore, because everyone looks at someone in shape and goes, I wonder what they're taking.
Yeah.
Because I could take that for 6 weeks and look like that. You've not a clue.
Yeah. My sort of thought would then be, for someone who is interested in taking it but wants to know more, because there's a bit of stigma around, getting that information, apart from going to the gym, bro. What information do you think should be put out there more? Like, what should be, what information do you think should be more accessible to people in order to find out this sort of stuff on steroids?
I think it is more the mental effects and the detrimental effects on your health later on in life, and given the consequences. Like, look at smoking, for example. Pack of cigs, you have that picture, that haunting picture everyone sees. And ever since that, the decline of smoking now is seen as not acceptable in most places. You look at someone who smokes now, it's dirty, it's horrible. And I think that needs to be apparent with gear as well, in terms of like looking at the severity and going like, this could happen to you. Do your research beforehand. There's plenty of knowledgeable people out there. Do due diligence. I hate to say it, but social media is a great platform now for a lot of good coaches. But more so, if you are considering it, you've talked to someone about it. Now, if you've talked to someone about it, there is someone going to be more knowledgeable than you are. So talk to them, find out their experience, find out the actual facts of what they've been through. And then if there's no one you can is established in that area or you can trust, then you have to go online. It's start with the likes of JP and think people like that. The Muscle Men's is another.
Callum Rice.
People like that, like they are experts within the field.
Definitely.
There's is it Dr. Dean? Like the Dr. Dean YouTube, a fantastic platform now. People now talk openly about gear.
Yep.
So understand the side effects of it. Understand how it is going to affect you. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the big change in your life? And make sure you can tick every box and you can, right, I'm ready. This is what I want to do. And if that's the choice that you want to make, absolutely fine.
So would you say it's almost like making a life-changing commitment?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's like anything you could take, and I'm talking very extreme level now, but you could go out and take a pill and it could kill you. For one reason or another, it might kill you. But it might not be the drug that kills you. It's a side effect of being off your head, falling, collapsing, cracking your head on a curb. That will kill you.
It's what you do while you're on the
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got to look at steroids the same way. You've got to look at anything you do in your life and think, well, I need to know the severity on what it's like if you're starting a business. You've got to look at worst case scenario.
Yes.
Can I fund this business or can I keep this business afloat in the worst case scenario? Because if you're not planning for that, then I believe you're already failing.
Yeah.
Because you can't commit to the worst case scenario.
So it's a big commitment, and underlying you're saying you've got to take a big responsibility on as well, aren't you?
You do.
And you've got to be more responsible in that sense.
It's your health.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than your health.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter what you have going on in your life. If you're not looking after your health, then you might as well. Everything else is out the window.
Yeah. As soon as that's gone, everything else is gone, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah. But, mate, really appreciate the chat today, man. It's been a pleasure. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's been a great, man. I really appreciate it. Obviously, you've got a big message to give out there to a lot of people, and like you're saying, there's a lot of disinformation that just gets so skew-whiffed, and people just don't know what to do or where to get it from or who to trust.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think like someone like yourself, you've opened up my eyes a lot more. Do you know what I mean? There's only limited knowledge that I can sort of find out on the internet without actually going through it myself.
Yeah.
But someone like yourself who's got that experience can definitely deliver such a strong, powerful message from your experience so far. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your gym, it's quite new. You just opened it up. How old is it now? Like 12 months old or just over?
12 months, yeah. 14, 15 months, yeah.
Sweet. And it's located in the centre of Wigan, right?
Yeah,
sweet. So if you're in Wigan, if you're travelling, you're passing through or you're from Wigan, definitely check out Transform Gym. Get yourself down there, and you might even meet Greg. And what's the social medias, mate? You want to plug in the socials for...
So Transform Wigan for both, Facebook and Instagram.
Sweet.
Yeah, might be the gym dog, Colby as well.
Sweet, man. All right, nice one.